And he gives some, I mean, you want to talk about earth-shattering words and concepts and a powerful illustration? There's a reason why Jesus was the greatest speaker ever and why this is the greatest sermon ever. Because now you're going to hear the greatest close ever. Okay? Take a look, Luke chapter 6, beginning with verse 46. You could sum up the whole conclusion in basically the first sentence. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I say? Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I say? I will show you what it is like, what he is like who comes to me and hears my words but does not put them into practice. He's like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid a foundation on rock. And when the floods came and the torrent struck that house, they could not shake it because it was well built. But the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built his house on the ground without a foundation. And the moment the torrent struck the house, it collapsed, and its destruction was complete. Now I want to read for you this same conclusion from when Matthew wrote down his remembrance of it. And it is found in Matthew chapter 7, beginning with verse 21. Jesus says this. You'll recognize it because it's very similar. He says, "Not everyone who says to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and perform many miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.' Therefore, anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rains came, the streams rose, the winds blew, and they beat against the house, yet it did not fall because it had a foundation on the rock. But everybody who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like the foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash." Now remember, Jesus is speaking these words to people who have indicated that they want to follow him. The people in the crowd that Jesus was speaking to were people who were described as disciples. They would not be all that different from the crowd that I'm addressing this morning. You're here, I assume, because you want to follow Christ. You're here and you would think and you maybe call yourself a disciple of Jesus, one of his followers. So, hear the words. This is not me speaking to you. These are the words of Christ speaking to you. And Jesus makes it clear that he is looking for people, he is not looking for people who can say all the right things and use all the right titles and even go through all the right motions. It is not enough to come to church and to hear the words, and to even agree with those words, and even to call him your Lord. It's not enough to be sitting here saying, "Yes, Jesus is my Lord, and yes, I'm one of his disciples." It's not enough to be able to say that. That's right. I can't tell you how many times I have people that I talk to who will say to me that they're all set spiritually because they believe in God. And because they live a pretty good life. But the reality is that they are not right with God. Because they have no interest at all in obeying him. They want to know that God is love. They want to know that God is not willing that any should perish. They want to think that because they've been baptized, confirmed, come to church, live a pretty good life, read their Bibles on occasion, pray every day, whatever, that they're in good place. But they have no desire at all in their hearts hearts to do what He tells them to do. There's no desire to obey Him. There's just reliance on the fact that, well, He'll forgive me when I don't. Let me tell you, you're playing a dangerous game. They have no interest in obeying what Jesus says about the use of our time. They have no interest in obeying what Jesus says about our priorities with our finances. They have no interest in what the Bible teaches about sexual purity. They have no interest at all in living a life that is even-tempered and loving and compassionate towards those who are evil toward us or who are needy. They want all the benefits, but none of the requirements. They want to be able to say, Lord, Lord. They want to be able to come and pray and worship. And they want to be able to say, I'm going to heaven one day because, but then they want to be able to live any way they choose because they are the Lord of their lives.